Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We are continuing our verdict coverage in the case of the three men who were accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. The jury has spoken after 11 hours of deliberations and found these defendants guilty of his murder. What I want to do now is take you out to Brunswick, Georgia, where we have a very special guest joining us, one of the attorneys involved in this trial. Criminal defense attorney Kevin Gough, who represents William Roddie Bryan, is joining us now from outside of the courthouse. Mr. Gough, first of all, thank you very much for your time. And might I just say that even in light of the way that this went down, for you and your client, and I'm sure it's very disappointing for you, no one can say that you didn't zealously advocate on his behalf. I know you put in hours and hours of work, of trial prep during the trial, and probably will be continuing working even tonight thereon after. But no one can say that you didn't fight very hard for your client. With that being said, tell us your reaction, if you would please, to the jury's decision.
Well, obviously, we're very disappointed with the verdict, but we must respect it. That's the American way. We will file a motion for new trial on Mr. Bryan's behalf next week. We believe that he stands wrongly convicted and that ultimately there will be justice here for Roddie Bryan. But it's not my place today to be criticizing anyone else. We have a judge who's worked so very hard trying to ensure a fair trial. We've got a lot of people in the system here. We've got the sheriff, the clerk's office, so many people involved in this, certainly the Cobb County District Attorney's Office, all trying to make sure that we had a verdict that would stand the test of time. I don't think, for Mr. Bryan, I feel like he has an excellent appeal, and there are some serious, difficult issues that will have to be addressed. But the important thing today is, with the way things are going in our country right now, is to try and maintain a sense of justice. And we certainly appreciate all the hard efforts of so many people, including these 12 jurors who sacrificed so much to be here and deliberate. Although Mr. Bryan's disappointed, we certainly appreciate the efforts that were made.
He looked very disappointed. He looked at one point like he was almost holding back tears in that courtroom. How was he after he left the courtroom?
Well, I think I can assume that he was not doing any better when he left the courtroom than he was on the way out. I think Mr. Bryan, Mr. Bryan believes the fairy tales that we teach people about how things work. And I think when you're there firsthand and you experience it yourself, it's crushing. Mr. Bryan put his faith and trust in the police and the government here to do the right thing by him. And you can't blame him for being disappointed, if not shocked, at today's turn of events. But at the same time, we have to keep track and keep sight of the larger picture. The real question here is, and now we've had several of these trials across the country, is how we preserve and protect our Constitution and the values that we hold so dear in the current environment in which we're living. And people way above my pay grade are going to have to figure that out. A lot of other places in the world don't even pretend to provide the civil liberties and the civil rights that we afford citizens in the United States. A lot of other parts of the world, these proceedings would not have been public. They would have been conducted in private. They wouldn't have been conducted with juries at all. And I think we've worked really hard in this country and in this case to try and preserve the rights of the defendants. On appeal, we'll find out whether that in fact took place, but you certainly have to appreciate that people are trying, where in so many parts of the world they're holding trials in secret because they have not found a way to guarantee these rights. And at least I think it's a credit to our criminal justice system that we're still trying, whether we always succeed. People ask me, how could people be wrongly convicted in the 21st century? And Roddie Bryan is just the latest example. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone else. But we believe Mr. Bryan stands wrongfully convicted, and we believe that ultimately, on appeal, he will be vindicated.
Well, tell us why you believe your client was wrongly convicted.
Well, that's called motion for new trial. We'll file a general motion for new trial asserting the general grounds, and whoever's representing him on appeal, and that remains to be determined, will come back and amend that motion and lay out what they think. Certainly, the last person in the world you want to ask about a trial and whether they think it was right or wrong or fair or not is a criminal defense attorney who just had to stand there with his client and see his client convicted. This isn't the time or place to be having those discussions, but that day will come, and I believe that Mr. Bryan will ultimately be vindicated here.
Does your client have any regrets about not testifying?
You know, I can't speak for Mr. Bryan on that. I haven't had a private conversation with him since the verdict was returned. You can understand, especially in this case and all the security and other precautions that have been taken, that it would be impractical to speak to Mr. Bryan this afternoon.
Tell me about you, please, Mr. Gough. And again, I commend you for zealous advocacy from the outset of this case. You fought so hard for your client, left no stone unturned. Tell me, as a trial attorney, and I know, believe me, because every trial I ever had, there was always something I regretted or would have done differently. And hindsight's 20/20. We don't have the benefit of hindsight. But now looking back, is there anything at all you would have done differently in terms of trial strategy or advocacy?
You know, it would be premature for me to even speculate about that. You know, I think looking back, as we go back over this, I think people will question whether I didn't do enough to ensure that the things that could influence a jury, the things that could influence a trial, didn't impact this case. The problem when we're trying cases like this in the court of public opinion is it can be very difficult to undo the damage that does to the rights of people like Mr. Bryan facing trial. But I don't have all the answers. I mean, I know a lot of people have worked really hard, and it's certainly no lack of effort here to try and ensure Mr. Bryan a fair trial. But ultimately, the standard isn't whether we tried. Just like for me, the standard isn't whether I tried. The standard is whether we achieved that. You know, losers whine about their best. I'm not going to do that. In the end, I failed. Mr. Bryan was convicted, an innocent man, and, you know, I'll have to live with that. That goes with the territory.
Let's talk a little bit about the point you were just making about ensuring a defendant's right to a fair trial, because as recently as yesterday, you were on this program talking with me, and these were some of the issues that I was bringing up, and you said because of the jury being out deliberating, you did not want to make any comments on certain things, and you were gracious enough to say, I'll return at another time when the jury isn't in the middle of deliberations and provide answers to questions that you're asking. One of them dealt with sequestration, and I was surprised. I really was surprised that you and your other colleagues, especially on the defense side of this case, weren't pushing more for sequestration for this jury. Can you tell us now why not?
Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time dissecting a fairly complicated trial, but the prevailing opinion has been for some time that jurors tend to take it out on the defendants when they get sequestered. It doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong or if it's conscious or subconscious, but that has been the feeling for some time. So, you know, asking a juror, it's bad enough that they have to take a month or more off of work, that they can't really fully enjoy their lives with their families, but to be locking them in a hotel room, eating pizza and, you know, cheap donuts for 4 to 6 weeks, that's a huge imposition on people who've already been burdened. And maybe we made a mistake. Maybe I made a mistake in not asking for that. But, you know, that's not something you do to people lightly. Whether we agree with the verdict or not, you could see that the jurors were trying to get through the evidence and sift through it, trying to apply the law that the court charged. You know, and we need people to come back. Roddie Bryan's not the last person to go on trial here. And we need jurors who are willing to step up and serve. And if we make the burden of jury duty too onerous, too burdensome, then we're just not going to get the kinds of jurors that are going to return true verdicts in these cases. So, you know, it's no small thing to sequester a jury. And maybe people will second guess that decision.
Well, we know you made numerous motions for a mistrial declaration in this case. All were denied by the court. Most notably, most talked about, of course, was the one where you were asking the court to exclude very prominent black pastors from the courtroom. And yesterday I was saying to you, what is the legal basis for that motion? Because it's my contention that there is no legal basis to include.
Defendant's right.
Go ahead. I was saying to exclude any black pastors from the courtroom, or anyone, as the courtrooms in America are public. So, and you said you didn't want to comment on that yesterday because of the jury being out. But today, what would be the legal basis for that motion?
Madam, we filed a number of written motions citing authorities, including several cases of the United States Supreme Court. We're very comfortable with the position that we've taken, and ultimately I believe that position will prevail on. I can't blame jurors. They don't control the circumstances under which these cases come up, and I'm not blaming anyone. But the bottom line here is whether the atmosphere of this trial infringed upon the defendant's right to a fair trial, and we believe it did. We believe that it has. With all due respect, nothing I saw today changed that, although I do appreciate the service of the jurors, and I'm not going to go into details about it, but even today, there were things that were disturbing. There was just no point at this point. I think we've amply preserved the record for appeal, but the ability to have public trials, the ability to preserve the individual's right to a fair trial, we have seen again this year situations where the atmosphere surrounding the trial has become overwhelming. We're going to have to figure out a solution, and that's for people above my pay grade to do. But we're going to have to come up with a better way to address it. That's all I can say about it.
Sure, and there are a lot of issues to talk about with respect to that. Of course, we want to make sure juries are free from any outside influence. But courtrooms in America are public. Courtrooms in America are public. They're public places. Any of those very famous reverends that we saw showing up throughout the case may be there.
And ma'am, I'm not going to argue with you about it. We've got our motions on file. The authorities are cited therein. This is nothing new. These issues have come up for decades. It's just now that we're in the 21st century, the world has changed, and things that were not really issues 50 years ago and 25 years ago even are now becoming more and more common. And we're going to have to change the way that these trials are being conducted. And I don't pretend to know or have all the answers, but we're going to have to find a way to do these trials in a different way, or we're going to end up like they do in Ireland and many other countries around the world, where big high-profile trials like this are essentially done in secret. And I don't think anybody wants that. But something's going to have to be done. And I make no apologies for protecting my client's right to a fair trial. And I'm sorry if other people were offended, but like I've said before, I've been here on behalf of Roddie Bryan. I don't represent Al Sharpton, not this week anyway. I represent Roddie Bryan. He's the one on trial. He's the one that deserves a fair trial, and we'll let the appellate courts decide whether he had one.
Do you have any regret about continuing to resurrect that motion for a mistrial day after day?
I have no regret about it. I had a duty to do that. The last thing I want to do is waive issues on appeal, particularly in a case like this. So I make no apologies for having done that, but I do have to apologize to you. There are a bunch of other media people standing all around, and they want to have their turn, and they won't get half the time you got.
We understand. And we appreciate your time, Mr. Gough.
If you've got one more question, take your best shot. All right. Thank you.
My best shot. Well, it looks like you're pulling out your earpiece there. We'll let you get going. All right, Kevin Gough there joining us, letting us know that there's lots more ahead. As he just said, he's going to be filing a motion for a new trial on behalf of his client. He is looking to hand the case over for an appeal to be taken on behalf of his client. He made it clear he would not be representing William Roddie Bryan in any appellate matters in this case. He still contends his client is innocent, although he has been proven guilty in a court of law of the crime of murder. There is lots more still ahead here on Court TV Live for you on this Thanksgiving Eve. My time here at the desk is done. It has been a real pleasure and honor being with you today. When we come back from this commercial break, Joy Lim-Nakrin will be taking over at the desk, navigating our coverage for the next couple hours. Julia Janae will still be standing by in Brunswick, Georgia. We hope to have lots more interviews for you and post-verdict coverage here on this day that this case involving victim Ahmaud Arbery has finally been brought to a conclusion, and hopefully the family is feeling some sense of justice. I'm Julie Grant. It's been great being with you.